So I realized my office is really dark and I don't know why. Like I'm confused. I really need to work on lighting. Okay. So now you guys can see the jacket on my mannequin. The zipper is done. We are on the down end of this jacket. Thank God. I can't wait to put it on. All right, so we're about to do the sleeves. Remember, I used a alternate pattern for my sleeves, so I am going to verbally walk you through how to do the normal sleeve on this pattern for the golden rule, and then I'm going to sew up my sleeve that I'm using from a McCall's pattern. Okay, so let's get started. All right, guys, let me grab the pattern. So obviously I did not cut E out, but E is going to be your sleeve. Okay, so you're going to use E and then ERR. ERR is your ruffle. Okay, so that's what's shown here. So you're going to take your sleeve, you're going to sew side seams together, side seams together. The top part where it has this squiggly line is where you gather. So you're going to gather this, and then what you're going to do, you're going to sew the gather part of this to the top part, to the bottom part of the sleeve right here. Okay, so top to bottom. So this side seam should already be sewed, this should be sewed, and then you're going to sew this together. You're going to hem the bottom, and sometimes I like to hem before I put on the jacket because it's easier. You don't necessarily have to do that, whatever order that you want to, but V here, and this is important, V shows that this is the front of your sleeve. Okay, so when you are making your notches, make sure that you identify which part of the sleeve is your front part. Okay, and then you want to sew this onto your sleeve, and you want to ease it in there. So you have your top, this is your front, this is your back, and everything else should be pretty easy, pretty good to go. All right, and that is all you have to do for the sleeve. Now I am using McCall's 8146. I had to look it up. I just love that sleeve, and I'm going to put it here. So you could also, even though I put the picture here, you can see a part of this sleeve. I didn't even do this intentionally, but it worked. A part of this sleeve on my mock-up for my jacket. I like having the mock-up here, so as I'm working, I can see if I'm on the right track, if I messed up, if I need to adjust. But that's the sleeve that I'm going for. Okay, it's long sleeve. We're going into winter, super excited. And then it has this beautiful sleeve to it. It got some volume. Okay, I wanted a little dramatic. So the materials you actually need for this sleeve, it's not a lot, but the sleeve itself is pretty long. All right, so this is my pattern for my sleeve. And then it also calls for you to do a sleeve head out of netting. All right, so we're gonna get started doing this sleeve. I'm gonna walk through the instructions. What I did is pulled up the instructions on my iPad, and I'm gonna sit them up here to walk through it. Now I read through all the instructions, but I'm gonna tell you where I made some adjustments. I pretty much use the same pattern as is with the sleeve, and also use the instructions. So I have transferred all of my notches from the pattern. And remember, this particular pattern has about 3 views. It's a view A, which is a short sleeve, view B, which is gathered on the bottom of the sleeve and has the dramatic shoulder, and then it's just the one I'm doing, which is view C, that has the shoulder. So first instruction they give you is to fold. Such a long shoulder. Fold in half the top. Okay, And then you're going to stitch within your dot. So pin and stitch. I bet a lot of pins on this project. I don't know why, but okay. And remember, we are working with 5/8 of an inch. Back stitch. And then you're going to back stitch again when you get to the top. Okay. So once we do that, I had to take a moment to read. You're going to gather between the dots. So this dot and this dot, you're going to gather, and that's on both sides. Okay. So when you gather, you're using your longest stitch. So for me, that's a 5. And when you gather, you want to use 2. So I am going to do my first one and then go back for my second one. And make sure you leave out some strings to be able to gather that. Excuse me. Sorry guys, I think my family is getting sick. I came home today and my baby was sick, so fingers crossed it's nothing serious. So I moved my seam guide, and hopefully I showed you guys this before, but this is my seam guide. So I moved it over, and I am going to do another gathering stitch 1/4 of the way from the one I just did. Right, so I'm gonna gather this up, and then once I gather this, I'm also gonna go and I am going to stitch my side seams together. Okay, so match my notches, stitch my side seams together. I am going to serge and then press it, and we'll go from there. So I went ahead and I finished my seam, the one that we did from the edge all the way to the dot that's there. Okay, I did my gathers, so both my gathers, and this is what the outside of it's going to look like, and it looks weird until you finish putting everything together. Okay, just looks weird. I also did my side seam, or my sleeve seam to be correct, and also serge that. While I was pressing my seams, I went ahead and pressed my hem. So for this pattern, they are using 1 1/4 for the hem allowance. So I pressed it the 1 1/4, and then went back and turned on under the 4th to be able to do my hem. So I know for some machines, and I don't know machines well, so I can't tell you. I just tell you for the ones that I've had, that you actually can remove this. I know this is a little component that you put stuff in. I never do, because I'll lose it easily trying to remove it. But it does well to do sleeve hems. Now, I always try to start my hems where my seam is. So once I put it there, you want to sew as close to the edge of your 1/4 fold as possible, okay? And then once you do that, everything else should be easy peasy. All right. Now I am going to check to make sure it's catching, and it looks like it is, so we're good to go. Keep it moving. And I'm using my foot as my guide to where I want it to be. And then don't forget to backstitch. Cutting my nail, y'all. I'm cutting my nail. All right. So that's how it looks when you get done. That's what the outside looks like. Nice and hemmed. What I'm going to do is take this to my iron, and I'm going to press it just one good time just to make sure everything is nice and clean. Your hem's done on that. This is not the next step that it has on the directions, but I want to go ahead and do this and get it over with. So this is number 8. Yeah, number 8 for this pattern. It's called a sleeve head. It's going to help your sleeve keep the shape once we get done sewing it. So it calls for you to go ahead and do gathers for this. So I'm gonna go ahead and put in my basting stitch, because once I go to my jacket, I want to do everything that I need to and be done. Okay. All right. So they told you to gather it. I'm not going to put the second basting stitch in there. I don't think it's needed for this. hope I don't prove myself wrong. But you just gather it. And then once I finish this gather, I'm going to set this aside. Okay, I think that's going to be good enough. And if it's not, I can adjust it. All right, so I'm going to set that aside. You need to make sure that all of your notches have been transferred over, because I'm looking at my jacket and realize I did notches on one sleeve but not the other. So since that is the case, I am going to start off. Let me make sure. Oh no, I just didn't see my notches. Never mind. Whew. Make sure, people, you move over your notches. So it's my front, it's my back. You want to make sure that you line up everything. All right, so with right sides facing, I'm going to attach the sleeve. So the shoulder seam is going to match up. And like I told you guys before, I like to have a piece of thread handy so I can line it up properly. Okay. If you heard that, that was my husband sneezing. So, bless you. All right. So, make sure those are lined up. Before I pull it all the way through, just going to verify it on this side. It's lined up. And I'm going to pull through. All right, so we did that one, and I'm going to make sure my sleeve is on the right side. And I'm going to do the same down here. And I know it's the extra step that I really ask myself, is anybody going to see it? But I'll know. And it just makes me feel better when everything is lined up. I finally have gotten to the point where I take my time. Because at the end of the day, even if it's for me and I'm the only person who's going to see it, I want to make sure that I am doing my best on every garment that I do. All right. Make sure that's good. And I need a thread needle because, of course, that wasn't long enough. Let's see if I got another. that's not the next one. All right, so what you do after this is you line up your notches. All right. And do my glass. And then I'm going to ease everything else where it needs to go in the gathering point, okay? And once you do that, take it to the machine and you want to baste around it. All right, you want to baste your sleeve. So I'm gonna go ahead and take care of that. And the reason why I suggest that you actually follow the basting is because you want to try on your jacket, make sure everything fits the way you want it to before you actually sew on your sleeve. Before, that's a step that I would skip, but it makes it so much easier in the long run if you just follow it. Excuse me. All right. So go ahead, try on your jacket, make sure it's what you want, the fit is good. And then from there, you want to take, I'm gonna cut some of the strings. And I know this is gonna be not a good thing because I basted all this stuff and I gotta take all these strings out, but they're getting in my way when I sew. All right. So you want to take the net and your gather should be within your dot that you did your gather on the sleeve. Okay. So I'm going to take that in my pen. gonna pull my gather a little tighter so I can make sure everything's in there. All right, make sure all of that's good. And then you want to go and you're going to base along the top of your sleeve. I'm gonna do it this way because oh. And just be careful. Sometimes without looking, you'll end up gathering in places you don't want to. So just make sure while you're sewing, you're looking under and make sure everything's laid straight and flat under there. All right, see? Another gather here, and then that's what the inside is supposed to look like. So what you want to do is go ahead and stitch. Go ahead and complete your stitch on your sleeve. And once you do that, do the other sleeve, do your hem to your jacket, and you're done. For the hem, I am going to do the same method I did on my sleeve. So my hem is going to be 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to fold the 1/4 and then press it, and then I'm going to sew along that 1/4 line, and I'm doing hand motions like you guys can see what I'm doing right now. So once I do that, I will show you guys the complete garment.